what we're talking about is this picture that was sent to me on a Project Lava Snow, an ASIC for ECT and Ethereum. Now they're reporting on this. Those all we have. We don't have any machine look or specs or any kind of other details short of 1400 mega hash, 1000-watt power draw. ROI, it's laughable that they'd even put that on there because we all know how that worked. But delivery of April 2019 in crypto is like an eternity. You know, I wanted to answer this piece here, and then let's do some numbers here real quick on what pricing, profitability, and all that. And I mean, obviously it's not available yet, but if it would be, this is kind of where they're getting their numbers at. Current difficulty, current price, 10 cents per kilowatt, you know, a $585 a month unit. So if they're using the current figures right now, and let's go back here. We may be able to reverse engineer their costing here. If they're saying less than 4 months, and they're saying daily revenues at $20, so we can do the math on this. They're giving us a little bit of insight where what their cost might be on this. So they're saying $20 a day. So that is the $20 a day. Yeah, about $2,400. That's what they're. So if they're targeting this at about $2,400, that's pretty cheap because it's about 2.5 times cheaper per hash than the Bitmain ASIC at almost the same power rating. But again, this is April 2019 timeframe. There's a lot of risk in what they're talking about here because at a minimum set, if they've already started this process and taping out and they start benchmarking, testing, all of this stuff, let's say 3 months, that puts them in December timeframe of starting to do some of their testing. They could put it on the network. They could start recouping some of their costs before anybody even gets these units. If they tested on the main net, and it's subjective if they would do that. I mean, the network effect that occurs if somebody's doing something you don't know, you see it if it's a large enough network change. Like if there's a huge amount of ASICs or some breakthrough, we see it on the network. There's an explosive growth of hash power. Now there's strategies to it. They can slow roll 1 unit at a time type of thing and then give it kind of like this organic growth. But that being said, right now we're in a decrease in Ethereum network hash rate because the cost and the power and everything wasn't really calculating out anymore. Had a little bump today and we'll look at that. But if you look at the taping of this out, if they're targeting April of 2019, if they actually have these things built to at least do some of the field testing to see, you know, can they take heat? What happens over? And there's a minimum set of time that they're going to test this before they start shipping it. So if they're getting a little more revenue because they don't have to compete and they have a 5x advantage here, then, you know, this is all the more reason why the competitive disadvantages that ASICs bring to the network and the centralization that it brings to the network. It's an inevitability that this kind of stuff's going to go through with enough liquidity in a system. People are going to build stuff for it, right? This is a reciprocation of that. The ideas and all this probably came 4 months ago, not earlier. Probably in December of last year, people were like, we got to build something that's better. Let's start looking at it architecturally. And then obviously with the decrease in price, they're still moving forward, at least what this presentation was a bit ago. But looking at, you know, this is what the fear was. So from the development side, from Hudson and the team, the Ethereum developers, a lot of the arguments that are going on right now with choosing not to lean forward into a programmatic solution of a change of the algorithm, this is the reciprocation of that. Is if Ethereum made a decision even in April this year or on this last hard fork call about maybe even going to prog proof of work or doing a different implementation they feel more comfortable with by tweaking and changing the Ethereum algorithm, it would at least put a nail in the coffin of the ASICs that are planned right now. They would have to go back to the drawing board, see if they can get a copy of the test code, what did the algorithm change to, and then just restart that entire process. If anything, it pushes it back 3 to 6 months, right? So if somebody comes in and changes it, if there's a will, there's a way, and the different engineering teams, especially if there's a high amount of liquidity in the system coming in, if Ethereum starts to really grow back up in price, you're going to have people moving forward with ASICs, right? So then it's just that constant play of, do we just keep switching out the algorithm to keep it on GPUs, right? So with the decision making that was done and a choice that was not made with regards to keeping Ethereum the way it is, this opens up the door for this kind of stuff. So we have it now kind of hot off the press with a 1400 mega hash. Now, to answer some of the stuff that what people were asking about the FPGAs and, there's a 1.9 gigahash stuff out there right now, I'll say with pretty good confidence that that's all BS. Whoever was putting out that video that was showing 1.9 gigahash using an FPGA, mathematically it doesn't make sense, right? There's just not enough. It's not designed in the way to be able to handle the throughput that we're talking about. The bus width, there's a handful of things that would not make sense even from a software standpoint to achieve that kind of output out of an FPGA right now. Not with a pre-canned programmable one. But again, huge amount of risk. Like a couple things could happen. Let's play this forward right now from the ASIC maker of the risk that they're taking. And here's the point that I'm going to try to make with regards to anybody that's thinking about buying this with such a far lead time, especially in the crypto market, is as an ASIC maker, anybody that's building hardware can come out and say, we're building said hardware. They can have a strong team. They can have engineers that could actually accomplish it. That being said, if they start taking pre-orders for these now after this announcement, then what they're doing, that play there, is hedging their risk, especially if there's no returns, which most ASIC purchases, there's no, you own that ASIC regardless of what happens. They are putting that risk onto you as a consumer. They are deleveraging their risk all the way, especially if they sell out the quote unquote whatever their quota is that they're going to build. They're essentially just transferring that risk over to you. So in some projects, you need them partially funded by some level of participation because you're promised a device. In this ASIC world, they'll build you the device, right? This is just production at that point. Once they've done the math and science behind it and figure out the path, and then they just start production and you pre-order, you are pre-ordering for the component. And if you're paying full up for it, you're taking 100% of that risk. Even if they produce it, even if they've been an honest company, they didn't pre-do it out there, you take all the risk on the crypto network. And where it's not even about where price is going to be. It's not even about where hash rate's going to be. You have more risk than that. There's risk that ETC looks at this move as a very strong centralization move in hash power and says, you know what? We like the community that we have around us. We've listened to the community around us, and they say that they don't like this. Overwhelmingly, the participants that have helped build these proof of work networks are against the ASIC scene. If they choose in their next hard fork to take the ASIC out of the equation, or at least change it and make an ethos to say, going forward, we're going to make a best effort to pivot the algorithm every time an ASIC comes out. It's a poison pill for people that are going to invest money and time into trying to make ASIC. And then, with Ethereum, you're taking a huge amount of risk because they already have. Now, Ethereum hasn't delivered on their stuff, right? And they're still working to try to deliver some stuff when it comes to Casper, FFG, and such. But at any moment's notice, Ethereum could propose a hard fork to at least have a hybrid proof of stake, proof of work set up, and literally just slow roll it right in. Fork off the difficult bomb, have what they already presented in the Casper FFG white paper, where they were going to do essentially 99 proof of work blocks, and then 100th checkpoint block would be proof of stake. And if they start that roll early, and now you have a proof of stake situation, you're already starting to change kind of, with that hard fork, they have that ability to go into the next hard fork, get the confidence in proof of stake of where they think they need to work changes to, and to just roll you right off. And then Ethereum's out of this equation completely for everybody. But if you're building a machine predicated on Etash, and you're putting your big liquidity piece there of saying that we're building this because of Ethereum, they're taking a lot of risk.